Welcome to the Restless Journey, the official podcast of Austin Prep. This series offers a closer look at the people, programs, and purposeful initiatives that bring our core values to life. Each episode, we invite voices from across the Austin Prep community, students, faculty, alumni, and friends to share insights, experiences, and reflections that shape who we are today and where we're headed tomorrow. Now, let's get started with today's episode of the Restless Journey podcast.
Welcome to the Restless Journey podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Fleming, Austin Prep Senior Director of Communications. And first for us today on the Restless Journey podcast, we have not one, not two, but actually three guests as we discuss the upcoming senior class trip for the class of 2026 to Disney World. Actually, we're departing just next week, so we're very much looking forward to that. But to introduce our guests today, we have Ms. Stephanie Choate, our English Department Chair, Mr. Peter DeLuca, our member of our math faculty, and Mr. A.J. Benning, our Dean of Students. Mr. Benning was a late addition, so unfortunately we did not get a proper introduction from one of our students, Stella Musarelli, who wanted to welcome Mr. DeLuca and Ms. Choate to the show. If we had planned better, maybe we'd have a proper welcome for you as well, but we've been thinking about you. I think the way this came about is I wanted to reflect with Mrs. Choate and Mr. DeLuca about this trip and kind of the experiences that we've had together down there. I've chaperoned this trip. This will be my third year. How many years for you guys?
I think I'm at 7 or 8 this year.
This will be 9.
Okay, so veteran chaperones, but very much you are kind of the pre-planner here on campus, and you're actually making the trip with us this year. So hopefully we can have a nice discussion about the trip, kind of the purpose of the trip, a little bit of the history of the trip, and some of the things that we've learned along the way. So for me, just a little bit of an introduction to the trip. I think it's something that our seniors very much look forward to, probably throughout their whole career here, but especially their senior year. I love the trip in that we all know how much we celebrate and embrace the Christmas holidays here at Austin Prep. And I kind of feel like that trip, which is, around this time, early, mid-November to late November, is really kind of the start of the holiday season for me. So it kind of gets me in a good mood and makes me feel good about the Christmas season here. But maybe to start, maybe talk a little bit about why this trip is important to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so important to the students, and I love experiencing the trip through their eyes and kind of helping them see what they can do there, all the bonding that they can do. It's just a great time for them to come together, and my favorite part is them coming back at the end of the day and telling us everything that they did, and they're so exhausted, but they're so happy for the day that they had, and that's an amazing thing to witness.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the yearbook where they say their favorite memories for the whole year, Disney is always the single biggest thing up there. And so to experience that with them, to be a part of those memories, to be able to talk afterwards for months later, like, do you remember when we did this or that? And you get to see the students too, I think, at their best. A couple years ago when we had the downpour and the kids really stepped up, and seeing that class do that gave me a greater appreciation for them.
Sure. Mm-hmm. So as Dean of Students, I mean, I think one of your primary responsibilities here is to kind of help shape the student experience for our students. So how does the Disney trip play into that for you?
I think it's a great opportunity for them. Like I don't think they understand how much freedom they actually get until they're on the trip. So they're they hear about the stories about us taping their doors, which is hilarious. We're trapped. We can't get out of the door. I'm like, yeah, exactly. But they have a lot of freedom, and I think that is a great segue into obviously them being a senior, but then them going into the next experience in their life, which is usually college. Not always, but most of the time it's college. And they get to experience that freedom a little bit before they leave for college. And I think that's one of the greater things that we can provide these seniors who are becoming adults, is that freedom. So yeah, they have to check in the morning. Yes, they have to check in at night. We want to make sure that they're still alive and kicking, obviously, but we want to be there to help them grow in that. growing that way.
Sure. So you mentioned the freedom that they have on the trip. So as we're getting ready to depart on this trip, I'm sure seniors are watching this to maybe get a little bit of an insight in terms of what to expect over the next week or so. But maybe if we can talk a little bit about kind of what a typical Disney day looks like for our students, and maybe Mrs. Choate, if you want to start. On the trips that I've been on, I very much have looked to you as the boss chaperone. So you have a great plan, and you very much kind of organize things. So maybe tell us a little bit about what a day looks like for our students.
Yeah, so the day, as Mr. Benning was saying, there is a lot of freedom, but we have touch points with the kids every day. So usually they have to leave by 9. And you can go to really any park you want to, but we do have designated parks per day so that most of our kids are going to the same spot so we know where they are. And then usually either from 2 to 4 or 3 to 5, you can come back for a break. And we always highly suggest you take the break, take a nap, take a shower, go to the pool, just use a moment to relax a little bit. The year that it was downpouring, it was, drying off. When it's really hot, you might need to cool down. And then they're back out until 10 or 11 p.m. And then we tape them in at night and make sure that they're all in their rooms. And they do think they're stuck in their rooms, but it is just painter's tape, just to make sure that we know they're there, and the security guards that are there at night know which rooms are ours, and we just make sure that they're ready and safe for the next day.
Sure. So obviously this is a big task, getting everyone down to Disney for the week. And maybe, Mr. Benning, this is an opportunity, since you kind of do a lot of the pre-planning in terms of managing the trip. Maybe talk a little bit about the operational aspects of the trip. How many students are you expecting to go this year? How many chaperones are you sending down there? General ideas of how many buses you need, hotel rooms, that sort of thing.
So all the fun stuff that the kids care about, right?
Yes.
So we have 140 seniors going down this year out of 148, so a pretty good turnout. I'd say that's pretty typical. We have 14 chaperones, which is also typical. We were able to actually get a great even split with 7 male chaperones, which always, is difficult, but we were able to manage that. And fun fact, first year, we have all chaperones have their own room. So that's a huge bonus. I'm not sure if you guys were aware. Were you guys aware of that?
I was not aware.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
A little extra something. So typically we have 3 buses go down. It's a 56 passenger. It's a nice coach bus. Everyone's nice and comfy. Normally, or at least in years past, we've done get to Austin Prep at 3 a.m., get to Austin Prep at 4 a.m. I think one year, I want to say it was 5 years ago, it was 1 a.m. we had to get here. So since I've been dealing with this trip and working with our travel agent, I won't mention his name, I don't know if he's trademarked, but we've been able to manage to bring that up to a decent hour now. We're actually leaving a little bit later this year. We're leaving school around 3 o'clock. So we get there at night, the kids check in and they have pizza and they hang out, they get to their room and they go right to bed, and then they are ready to hit the ground running. But as far as getting to the airport, we got to get there really early because there's 140 of them plus 14 chaperones. It's a lot of people to move through check-in, through security. So we want to make sure that we don't run into a situation where we potentially have people missing the flight, not getting in. If there's any security issues, well, sometimes that happens. Kids can't get in, they can't get their ticket, whatever it is. We want to make sure that we have time to fix and manage to get everyone on the plane and everyone on board. And then obviously when we land in Orlando, the buses come and pick us up and they bring us to the hotel.
I think one thing that's interesting that you noted, that sometimes our departure times from campus have been very early, 1, 2, 3 a.m. And I know that you guys have alluded to, at least last year, but maybe the last couple of trips, we've had afternoon departures from campus, and it's made a world of difference, I think, in the experience for the whole week, but especially that first day. Maybe talk a little bit about that early departure versus leaving campus at 3 p.m. and having a little more rest.
Yeah, I mean, when we would do it we get to Orlando at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., and then they haven't slept. Many of the students will just pull all-nighters because why to go to bed for 3 hours? And then, as Ms. Choate said, these are long days. There's a lot of walk-in, and they get back to their rooms at 9:30, and they're just exhausted, and then they have to be out of their rooms in the morning. And I think that just builds up. There's maybe it's just coincidental, but I think we've seen less health issues, right? The kids are generally healthier, they're happier, they are not having any kind of drama because they're rested.
Sure.
And so I think it's made a really big difference.
Yeah.
So another, I think, key operational aspect, you mentioned the return at the end of the day. They spent all day at the park, they're back to the hotel. And I don't know if this is something that you started, but a very sophisticated key and park pass exchange process. Certainly our students will learn about it here shortly when we're down there, but maybe kind of tell them what to expect and why you do that. And first off, was that your brainchild?
We knew we had to do the exchange. The logistics of it, I think, started with us, yes. Because you have so many kids coming to the door. So we have a hotel room that we call our hospitality suite, and that's the room that we work out of.
It's not the lobby.
Yeah, and kids have asked me before if it's the lobby of the hotel. They've also asked if all 14 chaperones sleep in that room. We do not. We all have our own room this year, so look at that. But when they come in, they tell us our room number, and we switch their hotel key with their park pass just so we know they're on the hotel premises. Now they have access to their rooms, and then when they leave again, we do the switch again, and that helps us know who's there. And it is very sophisticated in that usually you have a partnership with a chaperone, you're yelling room numbers across, we spin envelopes in certain directions if both roommates are back, if one roommate is back, and it just helps everyone visually see how many kids we have so that when we start getting towards curfew, we can start figuring out how many kids we're waiting for.
Not to throw anyone under the bus, but do we all remember when Father Armano was on the trip and attempted this process?
Yes. Well, I didn't realize it was sophisticated until
he made
until
it look
that moment.
sophisticated. Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the fun things that the students will experience over the week. Obviously, we've alluded to a lot of freedom with their classmates and friends bouncing around between parks, but we do have a couple of activities that are more structured. Maybe if you want to talk a little bit about the class dinner that we have.
Yeah, always a fan favorite, especially when we have our when our parents come on campus and we give them a little insight into the trip. The parents always their faces light up like, oh, that's amazing. That's part of the trip. So every year we go to Epcot. This year we are going to Italy. I'm sure Jim will be excited about that. So we're going to Italy. We get there around 8 o'clock. We get access to this pavilion. Basically, it's a stairs that goes down, and the whole thing's set up. It's like a buffet style. The kids can go up and eat. They go back to their seats, and you take you're sitting this way. You turn left, and you're looking out into the water. And basically, after dinner's over, the fireworks start going up. And it's always funny. I think every year there's always a couple people who walk, how do you get those seats down there? Like, how much did you guys pay? And I'm like, I don't know, actually. We're lucky to have them. And, the kids really enjoy it. But it is one of those mandatory things that, yes, we're making the kids do it. But then when they show up, they're like, this was awesome. This was one of the better parts of the trip is that we got to eat with everybody. Because normally the kids, like I said, they're off doing their own thing. They're going to dinner with their friends. This is the one time they have to come as a group, right? In this case, all 140 of them coming down to eat together, and then they get to watch the fireworks, and it's awesome.
I'll also say, too, I feel like every year we get complimented by the staff about how well-behaved and how polite our students are, at that dinner. And that's also, really encouraging to hear, to see. I was very lucky to go to Disney a lot growing up, and I've never had a fireworks view like that. So the kids, I think, appreciate that this is a really special experience.
Yeah. So to that point, building on that group dinner and the experience that they have. So I believe this is the 12th year that Austin Prep is taking this trip, and the class of 21, I believe, unfortunately did not get the trip. It was a COVID casualty year, but this is kind of an initiative that came with Dr. Hickey as he came to Austin Prep, and a little different, I think, in terms of maybe what some schools might do if they do have some sort of a capstone trip like this. I don't think it's as common anymore, but a lot of times this will happen during like a senior week at the end of the year, post-graduation. But I think Dr. Hickey really made it a point to have it in the first part of the year because it's an opportunity for all the senior class to kind of get together and understand like this is our last year together before we go to college, become full-fledged adults. So maybe talk a little bit about, students understanding the importance of, bonding that week, living our core value of unitas, and understanding like this is something that we can take with us not only the rest of this year, but as our journey beyond 101's Willow Street continues.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the week, everyone kind of starts hanging out with their friends. So they're in their friend groups. But then as the week goes on, you might have friends that don't like roller coasters. So then they go with another group to be with those people. Or you just end up in line next to someone for an hour for Avatar or more for that one.
I was going to say probably closer to
I
two.
think an hour. I was being a little light on that one. But now you're bonding with people that you really might never have interacted with before. Because even though we're in the building together every day, you have people that you're in classes with. Most people sit at the same lunch tables, right? So it really pushes people to go outside of that realm. And I have seen friend groups shift because of the Disney trip in a good way, like getting bigger, expanding, or being like, wow, I really got to know this person and I didn't realize that they love the same things that I love. So it really allows them to kind of bond with who they're already friends with, but as a whole class. And you really see it at the dinner. Like they eat together, but when they're all watching the fireworks, they realize how amazing it is and how lucky they are. And you just see that night bring everyone together.
I also think the timing is great because for a lot of our kids, they've like just finished submitting their college applications and there's a little bit of weight off of them. And now that this is like the next stage of their senior year, like not just the holiday season as you talked about, but like that part is behind them, and now they can focus on just enjoying these last few months.
Yeah,
I think it's something interesting to note in addition to that is that, in the years that I've gone, I've noticed that, I might be waiting in line with Mr. Piscini, right? We're waiting, and then all of a sudden this horde of kids comes behind us. And I'm like, oh, you're our kids. And then now they are, I don't want to say forced, because me and Mr. Piscini are pretty cool. But they're now interacting with us in line for, as you said, like 2 hours. And like they're getting to also know us and we're getting to know them on, I think, a different level. Because normally, like they're in the classroom, your interactions are limited mostly to like the academics or, and I think it's a great time for them to get to know like teachers, administrators on a different level and vice versa. Like, and they get to see like, oh, we're human and we actually like leave 101 Willow when we're not working, right? And I think it's a really cool experience for them in that aspect too.
So on the point of relationship building, I mean, obviously this is a bonding opportunity for our students, but anytime you send 14 staff members down there for a week, I think the relationship among that group becomes stronger as well. And I think, anytime you manage school trips, there is some bonding that comes together between the staff that go along with the trip. And I know I'm grateful in the trips that I've gone on with you guys in particular. You're members of the faculty, I'm on the staff, so maybe we don't have as many interactions as I have with you, fortunately and unfortunately. But I've enjoyed that, and I feel like we've become friends over the years. Specifically, I'm partnered with Mr. DeLuca, checking in the boys at 11 o'clock at night. So we're ripping off the tape and taping everybody in. But I think that we've grown closer because of that. And I think about memories of riding Tron with you and that sort of thing. So maybe talk a little bit about how the staff comes closer over that week as well.
Yeah, I mean, we also have freedom in between all of the things that are happening. We're always, on call and ready to help when needed, but we can have our own time in Disney to enjoy with each other. So really in the morning, it's just kind of saying like, oh, I want to go here, I want to go here. And we splinter off into certain groups. Mr. DeLuca is very knowledgeable about Disney. He made an entire spreadsheet for me of food choices, because one year I was like, I am focused on food. I just want to eat good things. So we have a whole spreadsheet with types of food, how expensive they are, what parks they're in. So there's things like that it'll be like, let's go to this place.
A true Disney nerd.
He is a Disney nerd in all the best ways.
Yes.
Disney adult.
Yes.
Disney adults.
That's right.
That's why I had a child.
Yeah. It's the only reason why you had a child, is to go to Disney whenever you want.
So I mentioned that this trip is very important to Dr. Hickey. He brought it here when he came here, and he goes on every trip every year. And we see Dr. Hickey here every day. There's a lot of stress and pressure that comes along with running a school, running Austin Prep, but it's kind of an opportunity for him to go away for a week and disconnect a little bit. We sometimes affectionately refer to him as Disney Jim that week, as opposed to maybe Dr. Hickey. So I think most vivid memory of interacting with Dr. Hickey in that realm was, I was walking through the park one day. I was probably with another staff member, I don't recall, but he kind of like pulled me aside and just like very eagerly asked me, "Tyler, can I buy you a Mickey ice cream?" And I was like, "Wow, as a matter of fact, you can." So, maybe talk a little bit about what it's like to be down there with our head of school for a week. Obviously, an environment that he loves.
Anyone want to go?
I'll just say he has bought me many ice cream sandwiches in the past. That's his favorite, and he is just sharing the wealth with everyone.
Yeah, I think as far as the trip is concerned, I think he strategically puts people on the trip that he knows are going to be helpful, are going to be able to guide the students when needed. He can rely on them heavily. So I find that when we're going on these trips, those 14 chaperones are solid, right? And I think he's a little, there's a little bit of like, almost like relief off of his shoulders that he can kind of go down, enjoy being with the kids, with the adults, and kind of step aside. And, I know last year, Steph, you were the lead chaperone. So I know that it was in good hands, and, he was able to rely, he was able to, go to you if anything were to happen. I know, Peter, you've been there forever. I know you're usually the van man, right?
Yes, he's our driver.
Yeah, so if there's any issues, you got the keys to the van and you can help out in any way you can. So I think a lot of it has to do with, the folks who are on the trip, who are chaperoning it. Like they are, they've been with the community a while, or they're trusted adults, and, you guys are all, I think, the reason why he's able to relax.
Yeah, one of my favorite memories was when Avatar Land had just opened, and we came down not long after that, and so it was not just 2 hours. I think the lines were like 5 hours, and so we got up really early to be there at park open, and so dozens and dozens of AP students right there waiting for them to drop the rope, and Dr. Hickey was there at the front of the line leading the charge to the Avatar ride, and I think it's great for the kids too to be able to interact with him in a different way. The hashtags in particular.
Yes.
I didn't know if we were going to spoil that or not.
Well, I think over the years, so I guess maybe we should preface this, is that there's this like gigantic group text that we can hit up the students at any point during the day in terms of, when you need to be out of your room, when you can come back for a break, what's the curfew for the night, any other information they might be that might need to be distributed. Generally speaking, that's a text that comes from Dr. Hickey, and oftentimes there's an interesting hashtag in the text that I think has kind of started a life of its own over the last couple of years. But anyone want to tell us more about the hashtags?
Well, I do want to say one thing before we do the hashtags. Talking about logistics a little bit, getting every single student's phone number is one of the harder tasks that is done throughout this preparation process. The kids do not want to give up their phone numbers, so it's like I'm hunting kids down, and they got to put them in our system. But I just wanted to preface that with, that's how we're able to text everybody. So anyone who's listening, we need your phone number so that you can get updated.
Well, before we get more into the hashtags, the way it's typically worked in the couple of years that I've gone is the school's director of communications, usually like the first text will go out at the airport, and maybe half the kids don't get it. And they're like, how do we get this? And then there's a line of 60 kids coming up to me as I'm typing in their phone number.
Oh, yeah. There may have been a few clerical errors once in a while.
Yes, but by time, like at least halfway through the trip, everyone's getting the text message. Yes. But the hashtags are a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Hickey spends a lot of time crafting them, and he'll do multiple on one text message, and the kids and us, I mean, we find it hilarious. Last year, Dr. Hickey wasn't there when we first went on our flight, So I refused to send a text message with a hashtag because that's his job, his role. So his first text, Mr. DeLuca was just reminding me when he got there, was hashtag the sheriff's back in town to let everyone know he was there and they were going to start getting those updates.
I mean, during the downpour, one of my favorites was hashtag buy an umbrella, ponchos are not stylish. So a lot of like important information that's conveyed in those hashtags.
Very niche hashtags.
Yes, and
Probably
a
ones
lot,
that you can't actually search. They're one of one.
One of one.
a lot of don't be late.
Yeah.
Hashtag
Right.
there are many buses,
Yes.
no excuses.
Yes.
So as we close the show, maybe if we can just if you can recall maybe one memory that really stands out for you. It could be something you did with a colleague, maybe a memory that you had with observing a student group, maybe some interactions you had with a student that kind of, as you think back to this trip, really makes you think about how special of an opportunity it is for us to go with the students, but obviously an opportunity for them as well.
Are you going to share it, Mr. DeLuca, or am I sharing my own embarrassing moment?
You go for it.
I am not a huge rides person, which does make me a great chaperone because I'll stay back when other people are like, I really want to go do this. So one year I was like, fine. I Googled it. Slinky Dog was child's first roller coaster, quote unquote. So I was like, okay, I can do this. Mr. DeLuca was there. I cried on the roller coaster, and there was definitely a 4-year-old behind us. I was like, this is the best day of my life. And I was like, this is terrible. But I tried. So I'm very happy that I tried. But now that's something that Mr. DeLuca and anyone that is listening can hold over my head.
And when my 3-year-old got off the roller coaster just this past summer, she was like, I didn't cry like Miss Choate.
Yes. Ruth knows that I cried on Slinky Dog, so.
I think my favorite memory is that monsoon day. Nobody wanted to go to the Magic Kingdom, but we kicked those kids out of the room, and our kids wanted to be there, so it was empty. And you would walk around, and pretty much you would just see our kids. There were no lines. They were just playing in the rain. I think it was a very wet but very magical experience for them, and that just has been one of the highlights.
Sure.
Yeah, and to build on that, they were literally coming back that night shaking with their park card switching, and they were like, this was the best day of my life. And I was like, you might have hypothermia, but I am so glad. And then they went and got warm, and they just were so thankful and grateful to be there.
Any strong memories for you?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of touched on it a little bit. I want to say it was 3 years ago. I think that was the last time I was on the trip. We had a student, obviously can't give out too much information on that, but we had a student, was nervous to go. I believe it was one of the situations where, they had a friend group that 2 of them weren't going to be there. They were worried about being alone. And ended up finding a group of friends, hanging out. The only reason why I found out, too, is because Mr. Piscini and I were waiting on, I'm going to botch the name. What's the ride? Terror? The Tower of Terror, right? Tower of Terror. We were waiting in line, and we're standing there, and, this group comes up, and then behind us, I see the student, and with a big group of people interacting, having a great time, and I was like, that's awesome, because I was worried. Parents were worried, getting phone calls, like, we're worried about this, and end up working out great. And I think that's exactly, like we alluded to it earlier, that this is exactly what that trip can do with, with a group of students, especially early on in the year. It's a great bonding experience. It's great that it happens early on. You get an appreciation for new people, for new experiences, for teachers, administrators, everybody, right? I think it's a great trip.
Right. Well, I'm very much looking forward to spending next week with you guys down there, and hopefully our students can watch this as on their way down or in the days before to kind of get an understanding of what to expect. So before we go, I have something for you guys. I'm not Disney Jim, but I thought that it would be appropriate that we all share a
Oh my
Mickey ice
gosh.
cream here. So
Yes.
hopefully this is the first of many this week. And
There's 6. Maybe we have enough
the production
help the
staff.
crew.
Yeah.
The production staff can
Wow.
probably have some as well.
These
so.
are not Jim's favorites, but he would eat them.
No, they're close enough.
Yeah,
For
they're
the
close
show,
enough.
For
We'll
the
take
show,
it.
they're
We're
good.
technically not down in Orlando, so I think this is as good as we're going to get.
This is as good as we're
Yeah,
going to get.
well, Open this up.
Yeah, let's have one, huh?
Yeah, let's take a look.
There you go.
I think they all look the
Nope.
same.
No, not
Mr.
good
Bennett?
enough. Doesn't pass.
I'm struggling to open this. I'll be honest. Oh, there it is. I mean, I don't know if we could zoom that in, but I don't know if Jim would approve.
All right. Well,
But these
it'll do for now.
Yes.
Well, cheers to that.
Cheers.
Thank you, and
Thank you.
looking forward to spending the week in Disney with you guys. So.